economy using the unit network blockchain empowered by Polkadot. Michael's mission is to solve wealth inequality by providing a more cooperative economy. He's focused on social impact and positive change through education. He's focused on social impact and positive change through education, entrepreneurship, and empowering. He is a self-taught full stack mobile and blockchain developer.
No, but it has been receiving authorization.
We need to mute some folks, so just hold on. Alrighty, sorry about that. So we're just going to continue. So Michael is a self-taught full stack mobile and blockchain developer. He's been in the crypto and blockchain industry since 2010 and has built several successful businesses with exits. Alongside starting and growing businesses, he has advised and supported startups, investors, and corporates globally in Asia, Europe, Middle East, and Latin America. So we are going to listen to Michael share more about the token economy. You can press start.
During the token session today, then I can either answer the questions right away or towards the end of the session. So a little bit to begin, a really nice and kind introduction from Zachary earlier. Can also introduce myself. So I've been in the crypto space since 2010. Got started working with WikiLeaks. What happened was I was building the Android application. So there was this was an app which allowed people to view the documents, allowed people to stay updated, and around that time in 2010, the government froze all our donation channels, so Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, all the different bank accounts we had, and our organization really couldn't keep running. But fortunately, we were able to use this very new technology, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was about 9 cents at the time, and it allowed us to stay operational, allowed us to receive payments from all over the world, and allowed us to store value, because governments didn't like the transparency that we were providing, and basically tried to stop our organization from running. So if you think, if you've got an organization which is trying to do good and it's being stopped by people who didn't like it, can you imagine the stuff like society, which isn't allowed to operate from doing good, isn't allowed to do good things. So it's really cool technology. Like Bitcoin was trying. 2015, we had the likes of Ethereum, which said, hey, Bitcoin's cool, peer-to-peer transfer of value, storing value, but let's do more. Let's build a decentralized news platform. Let's build a decentralized social network. And that was one. And then what we're really excited for is the idea of the blockchain of blockchains. So things the likes of Polkadot, Cosmos, Avalanche. These are projects which basically allow you to create your own blockchain specific to individual applications. So instead of applications like Ethereum, or applications like Solana or Matic, which try to do every single thing on the blockchain, we're a big fan of blockchains which do one specific thing. We think this is the path to scalability, and we think that this is what will allow a much easier platform and technology to build upon. So what makes us particularly excited about blockchain and digital assets and cryptocurrencies is this idea of the token economy. So if you look at the world at the moment, there's really two sides. There's the people who own things and the people who don't own things. And the people who own things are the ones who start companies or invest in them. So those are the founders, those are the VCs, those are the angel investors, the people who own things. And then the other side are the customers and employees. If you think about the likes of, Zoom, the platform we're using, or you think about, the likes of Uber or Airbnb, there's a very small group of people who own and hold the billions of dollars of value that, has been created from a technology like this, or Uber or Airbnb or Instagram or Facebook. And it's not because these people are greedy, it's not because these people say, hey, I don't care about my employees, I don't care about my customers, I want to own the vast majority share. It's because, the technology the ability to distribute that value isn't there. You know, it's this concept of tokenization, where, you know, if you think about something like Uber, about 2 million drivers, 100 million riders, over 100 million riders, it's not easy to distribute, you know, the 80, you know, $billion of value that went on the stock exchange for. But, you know, fortunately, with this idea of tokenization, it's going to be so much easier for value to flow and distribute around the economy. So the same way, you know, the internet transformed access to information, the same way the mobile phone made it really easy for us to communicate and keep in touch. You know, we've got no doubt that tokenization and the token economy is going to do the same thing to value and to ownership. And we're excited for the unit network to play a huge role in bringing about this transition and evolution and shift. So, you know, what is the unit network and how does it fit in? So we're one of the leading DAO builders and tokenization platforms. We make it really, really easy to create a coin, a token, a DAO. And, you know, you could think, hey, what could I create a DAO, token, or coin for? So you can think that, you know, a token can be used for anything in society, and it will be. You know, if you go into one of the most used platforms, CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, you'll be able to see that there's about 12,000 coins. So I can share my screen and show you what it looks like. So if you share screen, you go into here. You can see CoinGecko says it's about 12,900 coins in existence, while CoinMarketCap says there's about 20,000 coins in existence at the moment. So this might seem like a lot, you know, 20,000 or 12,000 coins, but it really is just getting started. You know, we imagine a society where there's, you know, 12 million or 20 million or 12 billion or 20 billion coins. You know, the idea that each one of us here will have a token, and this will allow everyone else in the audience to have a vested stake and support one another. And then if you think about, you know, all the local organizations, charities, you know, businesses locally, whether it's a restaurant, you know, whether it's a startup, a digital agency, all of these will have coins and tokens, which allow everyone in society to have an aligned and vested stake in each and every business and project success. So how do you create a token on the unit network? It's super simple and seamless. So if you go into unit.network, you'll see a page like this. I'm just going to share my screen. And this is how easy it is to create a token or a DAO. So you give it a name, you give it a picture, an image, you say how many of these tokens exist, so the supply of it, and you give it a symbol and you create. And that's really how simple it is to create a DAO or a token or unit. We're one of the most powerful, you know, simple to use tokenization platforms. And whenever you create a token, you basically get a number of features. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what it looks like. You have a number of community features. So you've got stores. This is where you can, you know, buy and sell products and services. You've got a news feature. This is where you can post articles, you can comment. It's kind of like building your own Reddit or subreddit. You've got a contest. So this is where you can give prizes. You can award, you know, tokens. Let's say you want a new logo done, a new video. You wanted some help. This is where you would create a contest and say, hey, I'm going to give 100 people, you know, 10 of my personal tokens or 10 of my project tokens. There's the papers feature. The papers feature allows you to write publications. You can think of that like Wikipedia. You've got the groups feature. This allows you to coordinate people, bring them together, get them connected. You've got a questions feature. This allows you to ask questions, kind of, if you're familiar with, you know, Yahoo Answers, which used to be very popular. You've got the events feature. This allows you to create, whether it's a conference, a gathering, an online, a live event. And you've got the polls feature, very important for governance. So if you want to make decisions, let's say you have a band, you want to ask what kind of music you want created. This is how you would, you know, ask your community, ask your, you know, token holders how you should make a decision, how you should vote. This concept of a bank is super important. Allows you to see what the operating performance is for a token. The treasury tells you how much is backing up a project. So you can see here we've got about $2.7 million of Bitcoin backing up, $1 million of ETH. You've got an exchange built in. You've got the sale rounds you can create. The info tab gives you an overview of the features and information about the token. So all of this can be created all of this gets created when you create a token on the unit network. I highly recommend everyone after this session today, create a personal token. It's kind of like creating a website when the internet was started, or a social media profile, and you'll be really, really ahead of the curve. Every person in the future will be saying, hey, how do I create a coin? How do I create a token? How do I create a DAO? And you'll really be at the forefront here. Also have several of my co-founders here. You've got Zach, you've got Joseph, you've got Shelton, you've got Yip, got many others here. Anchor done an exceptional job. Momo, who's on our art team, Olivia, and all of us, we're working really hard on building up the base layer, which is the unit ecosystem, the unit token. And what we anticipate is that once we build up this unit, infrastructure, this fundamental foundation, the next step is to build up the industries and cities. These are effectively digital nations. These are ecosystems by which the token economy can thrive. So, we have the likes of the music token, the art token, the fashion token. These are industry tokens. If you think about the way society is divided at the moment, it's very much amongst imaginary borders and nations like, Indonesia, Malaysia, the United States, China, European Union. These are national identities. And we think a lot of these structures are going to greatly evolve this decade. The likes of, the fashion economy. I just came this week from a very interesting experience called Burning Man. This experiment, where they get 80,000 people into the desert, is effectively like an internet nation. It represents a group of society, which are willing to live in very tough conditions for a week. And, we think that these new communities, will evolve society. This idea that you're born with a passport and that defines who you are for your entire life, it's very difficult to change. It's very difficult to get new passports. This is going to become radically different with the token economy this decade. There's going to be not just 200 nations in the world. There's going to be, 200,000 and 200 million nations. We're going to be able to create our own communities, very specific to what we believe in. And if we're not a fan of certain ecosystems, whether it's, a country, a community, a movement, we can easily move and change. So apart from industries, we also are building city tokens. We have a thriving New York token, a London token, a Dubai token, Singapore token, Hong Kong token. All of these represent heavily densely groups of people, heavily densely populations. We basically thought, okay, how can we expedite and bring about this token economy forward in an accelerated manner? And we thought, okay, cities are really interesting because you might have a group like the UK, the United Kingdom, but the people who live in London are very different from the rest of the people around the UK. Or if you think about France, you've got Paris and you've got the rest of France. So we thought, okay, how can we create effectively an internet nation and a token economy for these densely populated regions? And maybe these city tokens can become bigger than an entire country token, like the pound or the euro or the yen. Something like a Tokyo token could represent a much bigger economy. So how do we intend on getting there? We basically have built an operating model which drives and pushes forward the shift. Under our growth initiatives, we have our master's program. We're in our 10th, 11th batch at the moment. The real mission here is to introduce people to the token economy. It's super important that when this shift in the economy comes, with the idea of tokenization, the token economy, that everyone really understands and appreciates the amount of value that tokens can provide, and people can leverage and help support other people in benefiting from this technology. So we're really excited. If you think about big institutions like Harvard or Stanford or Yale or Oxford, these have been around for hundreds of years, and there've not been much innovation in the education system. They have been teaching, topics for, centuries, which, might have changed slightly, but they've been pretty standard. And, what we're excited to do is, starting with the master's program, provide a new alternative education system where, there isn't just a conventional, get a loan, get into debt, go to college, go to university, and pay, spend a long period of time paying off that debt. We're excited to see how, starting with the master's program, we can really educate, inform, and empower people, to benefit from the token economy, as well as from a new way of learning and supporting one another, especially with the community side. We also have organized a bunch of conferences. So very similar to, if you're familiar with TED, the unit conferences wants to provide an evolution of this, where anyone can launch their local event or conference. And if anyone here would like to organize, a unit conference, whether it's live or online, please feel free to reach out to one of our team members. We're excited to provide this global network, of events and local community to really drive and push forward this token economy. We also have a university, wing, where we're writing research reports and trying to keep people educated and informed about the token economy. We think of it like similar to Wikipedia, providing top quality research. If someone wanted to learn a lot about, a particular crypto ecosystem or about a city's token economy, this is where the university plays a role. And then we also have our ventures program. So if someone has an idea or thought or mission that they want to provide, they can join and apply to our ventures program. This is very similar to Y Combinator. So we plan to roll it up to 1,000 projects every batch, where we support in getting projects financed as well as successful. And we're really excited for this because there are a lot of projects and tokens and coins within the token economy and the blockchain sphere, but we feel as if a lot of them don't really have the substance that they really should have, the longevity, the sustainability, and we think that the ventures program can play a really big and important role there. And then finally, wrapping up, is we have our news wing. The news unit news is focused on covering, breaking news and updates, interviewing interesting people like all of the ones in the audience today who are, passionate about the token economy, and we really want to interview you and learn from how what you're doing can be shared with everyone else. We can really do a good job there. We also have the product team. The product team, I'm on the product team, is working hard on developing our technology. The unit network is a layer 1 blockchain. So what does that mean? It basically means that the unit network is very similar to Ethereum, it's similar to Solana, it's similar to BNB, all of these different blockchains. Though what we are focused on is providing a future with the token economy. Instead of something like Ethereum or BNB or Matic trying to do every single thing, being a general purpose chain, we're very focused on building up this token economy, and people with an idea on top of this token economy are free to build with smart contracts on the unit network, and create something which really serves their needs. We are also built on this technology called Substrate or Polkadot. I'll share my screen to show you what that looks like. And what Substrate is a technology which allows you to build your own blockchain. So, up to this point, building a blockchain has been really, really difficult. And what Polkadot, Substrate provides is a way for you to build your own blockchain. It's still not as easy as it should be. It still requires some technical know-how and knowledge. Though what it does, it provides a bunch of framework and tools to build blockchains. It's built in this language called Rust, R-U-S-T, and Substrate is a way of using this language, to provide a bunch of tools to build a blockchain. So, the unit network is a blockchain focused on token economy. If you have an idea of building a blockchain for fashion or for supply chain or for restaurants, really anything, you could use something like Substrate to build that blockchain. The next phase of the unit network, once we've established a really strong, secure blockchain and a thriving token economy, is we want to build a blockchain of blockchains. So what that basically means is similar to how Polkadot operates, similar to how Avalanche operates, similar to how Cosmos operates. These projects are basically blockchains of blockchain are a blockchain of blockchains. So we want to play this similar role, where if you've got an idea for a blockchain, you can basically use the unit network to secure your blockchain and connect to different blockchains. It might sound quite technical, but it's really, really exciting because when the internet started, there were only a few websites. When Yahoo started or eBay in the early 90s, people were like, hey, why would I use the internet? I'm very comfortable reading a newspaper. A newspaper boy delivers it every morning. I'm very comfortable getting mail, waiting 5 days for the mailman. Why should I use email? And then, now we live in a society where almost all services are online, whether it's buying something, whether it's, paying for utilities, whether it's, traveling, booking flights. You no longer, call your travel agent, hoping that they'll pick up within a certain time of the day. You can just go online, check different flights, where you're flying to. You can learn about a place. You want to study a particular topic, you don't have to pay, lots and lots of money, sign up for a program. You can, go on the internet. All of this knowledge is free. You've got videos, watching the TV. You don't have to, wait for ads and, pay attention to a set time when a program is starting and finishing. You can basically go onto something like YouTube and watch it anytime. So, the internet has transformed the world. The mobile, when it came out, people were doubtful of its potential. When Instagram got bought for $1 billion, people thought, hey, Facebook is crazy, but now it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And, social media and the mobile phone has really transformed the way people keep in touch. Tokens are really just at the beginning. So I highly recommend everyone here to not miss out on the potential there. Acknowledge that, most coins, cryptocurrencies, and digital assets at the moment are very scammy. They're very Ponzi-ish. They need new capital to come in to pay off earlier investors or buyers, token holders, which doesn't have good fundamentals. But this is very similar to how the internet started. This is very similar to how the app started. When the internet started, people said, hey, it's an internet project, it's an internet business. You just need eyeballs. You don't need a real business. You don't need it to be sustainable. People said about apps too, you just need downloads. When the iPhone came out, when the Android phone came out, people said, you don't really need to build a business on an app. You just need downloads, and then it's worth something. Google will buy it from you, or Facebook will buy it from you for $1 billion. But then people realize you really need, sustainability and fundamentals. It's very similar with cryptocurrencies and digital assets at the moment. So people think, it's a coin. You just need lots of marketing and people to buy your coin. And then if it drops, you just need more marketing and influencers. But, we believe at Unit that tokens really need operating fundamentals, meaning it needs a product or a service to back it, which generates, revenue and profit, and all of that value goes to supporting the token. And that's what will keep, our economy sustainable and prevent it from being, looked at from society as, dodgy or scammy, or take advantage of people who are misinformed. The whole industry at the moment for digital assets is about $1 trillion. So if you go into the website I showed earlier, CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, you'll be able to see that the entire crypto ecosystem is about $1.02 trillion. You can see here, CoinMarketCap says about $982 billion. And if you click on this, you can see how it has changed. At its all-time high, it had a $2.9 trillion market cap, according to CoinMarketCap. And according to CoinGecko, it had a $3 trillion market cap. This has dropped significantly. So if you think it was at $3 trillion, it's dropped to about 900 billion, or about 1 trillion. That's a drop of about 66%. So if someone had about $100, it's become about $33, which is quite a big drop. That's why a lot of people looked at this industry and they're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's very scammy. It's like lost a bunch of money. But you can see here, in 2018 we had a similar drop. The ecosystem was about 100 billion, so it's about slightly smaller than what it is now, and people were celebrating. I remember, 2017 Christmas or 2018 New Year's Eve. People are like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin is it's gonna keep going up. It's like, wow, it's $19,000, and then unfortunately it dropped all the way down to about 200 billion. So it dropped about 70%. Here you can see it went from about 800 billion down to 261 billion, and it really continued dropping. You can see here in 2018 it dropped to about 194 billion, so that's about 80% drop. So that was pretty tough. I remember even dropped low, 100 billion, so it dropped 90%. I remember 2018 or 2019 New Year's Eve, people would ask me, hey, is it a good time to buy crypto? and I'm like, hey, you know, when it was at 200 billion, I thought it was a good time. I mean, I said, you know, it's always a good time. You know, this industry is going to grow, you know, 100 times what it is. But then it dropped from 200 billion down to 100 billion. So it dropped another 50%. So, you know, I anticipate that we're in a similar sort of situation at the moment where, you know, digital assets are about a billion. It's probably going to drop maybe another 30% or 50%. However, you know, if you see how high this drop, how high it was here and how high the drop was, you know, this is going to be what this was, you know. So when Bitcoin, you know, goes up to, I would say, you know, 100,000 and then a million, then, you know, 10 million, people are going to go, wow, I can't believe I freaked out when it drops from, you know, 50K down to 20K. This is also not investment advice, so please, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But, you know, I highly recommend not necessarily buying into crypto and digital assets, but really, you know, learning about it. You know, the Unit Masters program wants to empower you to build on top of this industry and ecosystem, and think of this more as a technology rather than investment. And really think, okay, you know, this technology is going to be the future of society. How can I, you know, support local businesses on accepting digital assets? You know, how can I educate them on how to create their own coin and token? You know, very similar to when the internet started. You know, people needed a website. You know, or when mobile was a thing, people needed a social media presence. You know, a lot of businesses now have Instagram accounts or Twitter accounts. You know, before the smartphone, you know, it wasn't so common for your local restaurant or hairdresser or, you know, startup to have a social media account. We're at a similar phase now where, you know, let's say your friend creates a token, you know, you might go, oh, why does she need a token? Or why does he need a token? You know, the same way when social media came out, you're thinking like, hey, they're not a celebrity. You know, why do they need a social media account? And now, you know, almost everybody, you know, is sharing information, sharing updates through social media. We really see the same thing with tokenization. So highly recommend everyone there to dive heads in and see how you can build within the token economy. We're also heavily recruiting and hiring and building our team for the Unit Network. So, you know, if there's any way that we can collaborate and work together, please feel free to reach out to one of my co-founders or to our colleagues and team members. Kabir's got a point here. The crypto enthusiasts blame the centralized fiat system of currencies that the fiat currency is being overprinted. If every community would mint their own token, would not overbloat the currency. Would that not overbloat the current cryptocurrency ecosystem? So this is a good point. A lot of people think that, hey, you know, we shouldn't create more coins because that will create too much inflation or too much money, too much being minted. This is a really interesting point because you know, a lot of coins get created and they're not backed by anything. You know, they have no underlying value. It's very hard to determine what their value is. So this is where, you know, us at the Unit Network, we've really dwelled and thought deep about how to fix this. And we've come up with a system where every single coin, you know, on the Unit Network, and every single coin we believe in the future, every single token, everything of value will need to be backed up by digital reserve assets. So what that basically means is if I make a Michael coin, you know, Zach makes a Zach coin, Joseph makes a Joe token, you know, Ader, Nola, or Sabrina, or Adriano makes you know, Adriano token or Sabrina token. This needs to be backed up by, you know, digital assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or BNB, the big reserve assets. And that basically means if I make a Michael coin and I've got no Bitcoin backing me up because I just created the coin, it means that if someone buys into it, it's all speculative value, like most coins at the moment. It could drop 50%, you know, it could go up, it could go down, but it's all speculation. It's all, you know, when people buy it, they know that it's like a gamble. But then when, you know, let's say the Zachary token, you know, the Joe token, Sabrina token, Alexandra token has, you know, some product or service backing it up, you know, whether it's, you know, art, whether it's, you know, hairdressing services, whether it's food, whether it's, you know, smoothies, whether it's, you know, design services, that generates, you know, euros, francs, dollars, Bitcoin, Ethereum. After paying off the cost, some of that value will go into backing up the token. And over time, you know, if a business or something of economic value gets formed, then that's going to provide the sustainability that tokens need. So, you know, going to Kabara's point, if every community was to mint their own token, however, these communities were to generate lots of value for society, then each of these communities will be able to hold its own value. A lot of people in the digital asset space and crypto space say, hey, you don't need a business, you don't need a product, you don't need fundamentals, you just need people to believe. Same way to money. Money is not backed by anything. We believe that coins don't need to be backed up by anything. You just need to believe. But our perspective is, you might be able to say that for the big reserve assets, for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for Solana, for BNB, for even unit. We think we need to be backed up by our exchange fees. However, the big ones, you might be able to use that argument because people are going to use as reserve asset. Basically, people are going to hold on to it. And if everyone's holding on to it because they need to hold on to it to back up their own digital token, that's what can give those value. But for the millions and billions of other tokens that get created, we believe that it needs to be backed up by these 12 reserve assets. And some people might say, I only believe in using Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Ethereum is too centralized, or I don't like BNB because of the potential risk, or Solana because the network goes down. So they might only say, I'm only going to use unit or Bitcoin as a reserve asset, or Ethereum because they believe Ethereum is the evolution of Bitcoin. It's really up for people to determine and decide what reserve assets they want. And our role as the unit network is to provide this sound infrastructure for people to build interesting products and ecosystems and for them to thrive. Great question from Eric. What is the minimum percentage of the total tokens created to back up every token created on the unit network? Good question. So Eric is basically saying, how many Bitcoin, how many Ethereum should I use to back up my token? So at the beginning, when you create a coin, it's not backed up by anything. And someone might hear that, hey, it's a startup, it's a project, they're going to sell some of their tokens to raise some capital, and they're going to use that capital to grow their project or business, and not fill up their treasury. But then eventually people are going to say, hey, we would like for it to be backed up, otherwise the value of the token economy will not grow. So really there is no fixed percentage, though I guess the more value that grows into the treasury, the more secure and backed up by fundamentals that token has. So if, let's say I created 100 Michael tokens and I've got $0 worth of Bitcoin, Ethereum unit backing it up, it's 100% speculative value. So if you bought it for $1, it could drop to 10 cents, to 5 cents, to 1 cent, to zero, basically, because there's nothing backing up. But if I put $100 worth of Bitcoin backing up, the Michael token, there's 100 Michael tokens, then it's got a floor value of $1, meaning it's backed up by $1. Even if it went to $100, it went to $2, it won't drop below $1 because people can see that there's $100 backing up the 100 Michael tokens, so giving a floor price of $1. Foncho has a question here. What is the total value locked on the unit network token? So we have about $16 million that has been deposited onto unit network. We expect this to grow to about $100 million in the coming 2 to 3 months. We're doing a major push in terms of building up liquidity and value onto the unit network. And then, we expect to cross maybe $1 billion, $2 billion by Q1, Q2 next year. The reason why it's so important to bring liquidity and value onto the unit network, or to any network in general, is because you can think of it like a plant. It needs nutrients, it needs good soil, otherwise it's very tough to grow the plant. Similar to if you move to an island and nobody's got any money on the island, even if you create a really successful business, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's a disco or any sort of business, if nobody has any money on the island, or in the town, you might have a really good product or service, but there's no liquidity, there's no value that can support your project business. So really what we're trying to do is build up the amount of value on the unit network. And what this will do is it's going to allow different projects to get funded, hopefully ones with a lot more fundamentals, meaning that if you look at something like Ethereum, which has been through several waves, 2016, lots of projects getting funded. 2017 had the ICOs, 2021, a lot of IEOs, initial exchange offering, but a lot of these were very much like Ponzi schemes. They had no product, no business, no service, and they didn't have an effective way of seeing how well something was doing. So, if more people bought the token, the value of it went up. If people started selling or getting nervous, the value of it dropped. Many projects dropped 80, 90, 95%, 98%. And, we think we can do things differently with the unit network. We don't believe, in simply basing things on popularity or speculative demand. We think that it needs to be backed up by fundamentals and underlying value. And we have no doubt that, the token economy is going to be, bigger than the internet or bigger than the mobile phone. People are doubtful of Amazon, or Google or Microsoft. And now these are the biggest companies and organizations in the world. Same with mobile, people kind of wrote it off. Even Facebook, they didn't have a mobile app at the beginning. They thought people would keep using desktops. And then, they acquired things like Instagram or WhatsApp because, they want to have a strong mobile strategy. We see the same happening with digital assets and crypto. So people really don't see how big a potential crypto, digital assets, and the token economy will be. Though, if you think about, something like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, these are trillion-dollar companies. The whole digital asset space is only, 1 trillion or less than 1 trillion. And we're confident that, this industry and ecosystem is going to be, bigger than all other industries put together. And we think, if you think about industries like real estate, hotels or fashion, these are, multi-trillion-dollar ecosystems. All of this will move onto the token economy. So the same way, Amazon completely revolutionized retail, something like Wikipedia, changed the way people have access to information. The token economy will do the same to banks. It'll do the same to, fundraisers like, private equity, venture capitalists. If someone's got an idea, most of the time it's very hard to raise, a few $1,000s or $10,000. With the token economy, it's going to be much more seamless. People won't have to worry about, paying their rent, surviving on a day-to-day basis. We believe that this is going to be solved largely in the decade ahead. Question here from Fonsho. Other tokens being listed on centralized exchanges. So we believe that, we believe that we want to build up the unit network ecosystem to begin with. And then over time, we will get listed on both centralized and decentralized exchanges. And the big issue that we have with centralized exchanges is there is so much wash trading that goes on. So if you think about, the likes of, Binance or OKX or Coinbase, if you go into any token or project, you can see that there are hundreds of millions or billions in 24-hour volume. That means how much gets traded on a day-to-day. A lot of this is really wash trading. So basically what that means is people are buying, uni tokens or XMR or flow tokens or algo tokens and buying it back so as it creates that liquidity. The reason why is because it doesn't cost very much to make those exchanges. So people buy and sell just to, make it look like there's lots of trading. Within the unit network, we have tools in place so that this wash trading doesn't occur and people can see what the real trading volume is for a token. So, at the beginning, people pay like millions of dollars to get listed on centralized exchanges. We think of this as a bit of a waste of money and energy and time. So we're waiting to get a lot of these exchanges to hold unit, to buy into our ecosystem, to believe in the token economy, and then, getting listed on these exchanges will be no doubt. Question from Alessandro. I feel like unit is in the middle ground between the present sectors and what to expect for the future, Web 2 to Web 3. How do you cope with the breach in terms of business while it's wide open? Yep, so that's a great question. So how I would recommend looking at it and viewing this shift is similar to how the internet occurred, or similar to mobile, where you think of it more like a marathon and less like a sprint, where, when you're running a marathon, you don't think, oh my gosh, I've got so many kilometers to go. You just go, cool, I've done this amount of kilometers, and then all of a sudden you're halfway, and then 3/4, and then the race is over, and you're like, wow, that was easy. So the way we like to look at the token economy is we expect, tokens to be the norm by the end of this decade. So, in 2022 now, by 2030, we expect tokens to play an integral piece in everyday society. And what happens over the next 7.5 years? It might take 4 years for it to go incremental. And the last 2 years, it'll go exponential. So similar to, when the smartphone came out, the first 2 years of iPhone and Android's development, it didn't move that quickly. The App Store only came out, say, a year and a half after the iPhone was released. When the App Store came out, there weren't very many useful apps. There was the Torchlight app. There was a fart app. There was apps like Uber, apps like you know Airbnb, you know WhatsApp. Maybe came out in 2012, 2013. That became when that was when it became much more useful. So about 3 or 4 years from when it was released. So we think that the unit network can really be the iPhone moment, because before the iPhone there were smartphones. There was Nokia, there was the BlackBerry, but then the iPhone made smartphones a thing. Same with the internet. Before 2005, the internet was too slow. So if you release something like YouTube or an internet video streaming site, it was too slow. You didn't have this thing called Ajax, where people could the page could refresh without the page could do interesting things without refreshing. The technology wasn't there. So things like Polkadot or Unit, we really believe can be the catalyst towards this token economy. So my thoughts to Alessandro is just take a perspective that this is the future, and regardless of what people say, criticize, disagree, are skeptical, just know that tokens will play an integral piece, and the way value and money flows around the economy, equity is distributed, will be radically changed and play a big role in that shift. And then team up with other people within the unit network, or use technologies like ours to see how you can best leverage that. Don't worry about building everything yourself, or being overwhelmed by all of this new information. Just realize that this is going to play an integral shift. Alessandro also mentioned this applies to entrepreneurship in general. So entrepreneurship is seen as something very risky, very difficult, challenging, a bumpy hill. We think that tokens will make it a lot smoother. A lot of businesses fail, 80-90% statistically don't succeed. We think that tokens will increase the likelihood of success, because it's going to increase the amount of people that want you to succeed. If someone's an entrepreneur, they might have some investors which are trying to push them to make money. It's going to be much more of a community. People won't have to worry as much when they make investments, because there's much more liquidity, meaning that if you were to invest in a company now, it's very unlikely you'll see a return there until a big company buys it over, or it goes on stock exchange. Both quite fortunate, but highly unlikely. With the token economy, things will be able to be traded, so you'll be able to at least sell some of what you bought in initially, so as you recoup whatever you put in. And so you're like, okay, you put in $100 into a project, at least you can sell part of what you put in back when it starts thriving, and then that way, if it continues going up or even disappears, at least you've got what you put in back. It's super important, we feel, for the token economy. Eric, what are the possible incentive packages to enhance the appreciation of the value of tokens on the unit network? So this is quite a sensitive question. It's important that we don't shield the unit token, and we don't promise and guarantee future appreciation or gain. Though I think what backs up the value of the unit token, or what gives it what makes it important, we have this thing called vaults. So when value like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Polkadot or Solana or BNB, all these big reserve assets, we support about 15 big reserve assets, go onto the unit network, it goes into one of these vaults. And what that basically means is, let's say I deposit 1 Bitcoin, it's going to look at all the different Bitcoin vaults, all the different people, organizations that will hold this Bitcoin that I'm putting onto the unit network, and it's going to give it to the one which holds the most amount of unit relative to the amount of Bitcoin that it effectively has borrowed. So you can think of unit as a way of that people on the unit network who hold a value are secure and trustworthy, and you don't need to depend on a small group of people. So at the moment, the crypto space and digital asset space, people think about it as being trustless or decentralized, but there are a relatively small group of people at the moment who hold a large amount of value over the industry. Those are the exchanges, those are the custodians, things like BitGo, Wrap Bitcoin. You look at something like Polygon. There's a multi-signature wallet, where maybe like 5 or 6 people hold a lot of the value of the network. That's the big risk. So within the unit network, we are able to distribute it through the vaults. Anyone here can be a vault. They just put some unit into creating a vault, and then when someone adds value to the network, that gets sent to the different vaults. Another use is this thing called bond staking. So it's very similar to government bonds, where you lock up an amount of unit, and then as a result for locking out unit, you get rewarded an amount of unit. The rationale there is effectively when you buy a bond, or you put money in a savings account, you get interest for it. What's happening here is you are providing value to the network, by securing the network, and also ensuring that this value in the network is not spent, is not using up resources. So when new value gets introduced to the network, so tokens get sold through the unit token sale, but also rewarded to the people who bond stake, people who lock up a unit. This allows a gradual inflation, so it allows more unit to be introduced to the network, but it goes to people who either buy into the unit token or goes to people who stake it. Other use of the unit token are as a reserve asset. So when people, someone launches, a Zach token, an Alessandro token, a Sabrina token, a Joseph Ravindra token, they can use the unit token to back up their token. So that's a way of seeing how well a project is doing. If someone launches a restaurant and nobody buys any food from it, they're not going to be able to buy Bitcoin or unit token to back up their token. So it's very clear that the restaurant isn't doing so well in terms of providing products and services which people want. But if people love the product and service, they're going to have a lot of dollars, euros, francs, yen, which they can use to buy digital assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, DOT, unit, Solana to put into their treasury to back it up. Question here from Zachary: what are some of the different ways that people listening can get involved, from creating a token, purchasing tokens, joining a DAO, managing a Telegram group, learning a new skill, etc.? So the best way to get involved, I think, is we have 5 initiatives, growth initiatives that we are pioneering. We need lots of help in pushing this movement forward. You can think of the unit network as this new way for society to be released from the stresses of value or money, which burden and bother a lot of people in society. We believe that token economy can solve this. So if we can work together on getting people to create tokens, build real businesses that provide products and services, tokenize their businesses, meaning create a token for their project or business, create a token for oneself. So now if someone graduates university, they might be under a lot of stress because they're having to worry, how do I get a job, how do I cope the difficulties of life themselves individually. If they had a token, their friends, their families, their schoolmates, will all have a vested stake in their success. They'll be all making sure that they're doing fine. If they're going through a difficulty, they can holders and make sure that they're well looked after. So very important that we teach and educate and support people, build lots of local communities. Please feel free to reach out to Zachary, myself, Joe, any one of us here. Question here from Maxwell. We've got about 8 minutes left. What process should one who wants to create a blockchain project for an industry, for example, supply chain, start first? Good question. So how do you build an industry token? So you can either reach out to our team and we can support you in building up an industry token. We have a framework by which industry tokens are launched. Though if you want to build your own industry token, which is not aligned with our framework, then you just create on the unit network. I would suggest getting in a bunch of advisors and strategic partners, people with a bunch of reputation, credibility, know-how, knowledge in the industry, and then start selling some of those tokens to provide an economic base for that ecosystem and economy to thrive, as well as providing an amount of expertise and knowledge and processes, build up a team, launch a marketing sort of push, a growth initiative process, you know, we have conferences, ventures, masters, university news. All of this applies to each industry, so that, you know, people, let's say, you know, the fashion industry, someone has got a fashion brand, they know, okay, I don't know anything about technology or tokens or cryptocurrency or coins. How can me, as someone who loves making clothes, you know, create a coin seamlessly, and then people can you know, not just buy my clothes, but also feel that when they buy my tokens, this is their brand too. It's not just, you know, a brand belonging to the person who started it, the founder, or the few people who invested, but everybody, you know, has a vested stake. So that when you identify potential, you also get rewarded and remunerated for that. Zach has a point here. If anyone's interested in joining a unit city group or being an ambassador, please reach out on Telegram to Zachary. Can also post the link. So this is Zachary's Telegram, and if you've got any feedback or questions, please feel free to reach out. Joe's got a great question here. What would the issue with having no unbonding period for a stake token like the unit token? What would be the issue with having no unbonding period for a stake token like the unit token? So Joe's basically saying, like, why do we have this unbonding period for the unit token? So part of the value that bonding a token provides is the stability, you know, the reduced volatility. So, you know, if someone could easily bond and unbond a token, that they could, you know, bond it, and the moment they want to start selling it, they just unbond it and just dump it on the market. So you see, you know, cryptocurrencies, digital assets, they are seemingly very, very volatile at the moment. And the reason why they're very volatile is because you know, people basically are very emotionally driven, and they basically see that the market's going down, so they start selling, and then they see the market's going up, and then they start buying, and it rallies, and then it crashes, and it goes up and down. There isn't enough stability. So, you know, things like bonding, bond staking allows allows an ecosystem to have less volatility. Very important though, that a token can't just build up its value simply on providing, you know, bond staking rewards. It does need underlying value. So, you know, at the moment, if you go into the staking page on Unit, there's about 38% APY or yield. That basically means if I put, you know, 100 unit staked in a year's time, I would get 138 unit. I would get 38 units or 138 unit. It's very important that this 38% return, you know, is backed up by more than just, you know, releasing more tokens. So what backs up the unit token is, you know, the unit generates about 0.5% off every trade, meaning if, you know, I, you know, was to buy Zachary's token, you know, for $100 Zachary token, 50 cents of that, you know, exchange or trade goes into unit treasury. So we expect to do $100 million in daily trading. So 0.5% of 100 million is about $500,000 a day. So in a year, that's about $182.5 million. And that growth in the treasury is what's backing up the unit token. So it's not simply, you know, the use of it as, you know, governance or, you know, for being used in vaults or bond staking, but really the exchange fees is the real energy generated. The same way, you know, Binance or FTX or Coinbase, you know, have a tremendous amount of value from its exchanges. We think we can be bigger and best in that because, you know, we're not just exchanging, you know, a few hundred tokens, which are, you know, very generic. Most people in the world don't know, they don't care the difference between Solana or BNB or Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's all very, you know, geeky, very nerdy, very technical. You know, what we believe is that people care about, you know, people, you know, they care about local businesses, they care about organizations, charities, you know, causes, movements, communities, events. And that's where the token economy can play a big role. So I guess we're on time here to wrap up. So I really appreciate everyone's time here. And if there's any way, you know, that we can support your project, please, you know, join our upcoming conferences. We have a ventures program. So once you've graduated our master's program, you can join the ventures program and launch a token within the token economy. We're looking for help with our university. So if you're excited to research, you don't need to know much about the token economy yet, but, you know, through our research wing, we can, you know, learn and collate a bunch of information to support the ecosystem.
So thank you all so much. I hope that was extremely informative. And we have some links in the chat for you to follow us on social if you are not already. And regarding information regarding unit networks, as of right now, we do not know the next cohort date, but just stay tuned into the chats and the announcement Telegram chats for additional information. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow.